What is up, Hammerheads? Welcome back to the Forge. Today we're making a really cool project you might not have seen before. It's called a matchstick holder. Stay tuned. Alright guys, so the first thing I'm going to be doing is making the handle for our matchstick holder. Now all I did, and I didn't show this because it's just a basic handle, you can do whatever you want, is draw the material out, and then I'm going to start making my finial. Alright, like that. Now I'm just going to wrap it around, make just a small handle roughly about that big. Alright guys, don't forget to quench your finial so you don't crush it. I'm just going to come right over here on the horn of the anvil, start tapping it around a little bit, tap it back on itself. We're making a J hook, but we're just closing it up. Go over the horn, tap it down so everything stays in line, guys. Take out any. Got a little crooked on me. There we go. That right there. Now we're going to flip it around and we're going to make our other end. Which, guys, if we look, is going to be this part right here that holds your match. We're going to do a basic scroll, and then we'll do a small finial right there on the end. Making this just a little bit thinner, guys. You want the part that holds your match to be fairly thin and on a good taper. That looks pretty good, guys. So we're going to make our small finial right here. Alright guys, we're just going to be barely going over the anvil. You don't want this to be very big. It just needs to hold a matchstick. About that size right there, guys. And it's not closed up all the way because whenever I go to make sure everything fits right, I'll tap it if I need to close it up a little more. It gives you a little bit of wiggle room. All right, we're gonna go over to the vise and do the other bend, and I will be holding this with vise grips so I can get a good strong grip on it, because there's a twisting motion you have to do. All right guys, I gotta stop right there because I lost my heat. Looking for that knot right there, guys. Alright guys, so my match fits perfect back here, but it's wiggling right here, so I'm just going to tap it closed. I'm emphasizing tapping here, guys. You don't want to break that match. There, now it's a good tight fit. The match fits in there really well. Now I make these a few different sizes. I'll make them a little shorter or a little longer. All depends on what the customer wants. And it works really well. It's a little windy up here today. But I'm going to show you one other technique to make this back piece, guys. Alright guys, first thing we're going to do, if for some reason you don't have a vise, first thing we're going to do is bend this straight down, and then we're going to build it back over on itself. Kind of went a little far on that bend. Go a little bit shorter on that. Go about right here, I'll reheat. Go about like that right there. Alright, bend that down, guys. We're going to bend it back on itself. Close it up just a little bit. Now, we're going to go right here and bend it again. So we're left with that knuckle right there, guys. Now we'll do the rest with our scrolling tongs. We'll take our scrolling tongs and bend this up right here. Keep that down. Might have to open it up just a tiny bit to get the matchstick in there because I closed it too much. But did that right there. Alright, we'll make our finial on the next heat. It being a little colder, guys, you got to work a little faster. Going to tweak this a little bit with our scrolling tongs. Bend that out a little bit. But if you do not have a vise, that works out really well. I will probably just start using that technique because it was a little faster. But let's cool it down and try matching it. We'll brush it off first. Don't forget to clean up your work. You don't want forge scale all over it. All right. Close it up just a tiny bit. Remember, or I don't know if you remember or not. Always support your match on the back when you're striking it. But that right there holds it perfect. You'll be able to light a candle or anything with that. All right, guys, let's get real for a minute and talk about what we learned today. Before we get into that, I want to apologize up front because my camera's acting up. My GoPro just keeps stop recording. I don't know why. It'll record for like 2 minutes and then it stops. So if in the video you hear me say something the same multiple times, I apologize. I'm going to try to cut a lot of it out in editing, but I wanted to go ahead and put that apology out there because I don't know what's wrong. I've worked on it twice now, trying to reformat cards and all kinds of stuff. But with that being said, guys, let's get real, talk about what all we learned. So we made a matchstick holder. And let's talk about the first curl that we did. In the video, I show how to do 2 different ones. Let's talk about the one that's in the vise first. So the first thing you got to remember is if it's really cool out, when you bend straight down, stop. Go back into the forge and get it good and hot so you can try to get one good fluid motion. In the video, you can see that I hesitated a little bit and I had to go back into the forge, and it just doesn't work as well if you don't get it in one good twist. Something weird happens there. Also, guys, if for some reason when you're doing your twist, if it's not closing up good, take your hammer and barely tap on it as you're twisting, and it'll help close that gap up. Now, on the second one, the second knuckle that we got there, this was the first time I had ever done that. I just kind of thought about it the other night whenever I was getting this video together and decided to try something if somebody didn't have a vise. So it worked out really well, and I'll probably start using it in the future when I'm doing a lot of production work because I can stay right here next to the fire. But if I'm doing demos, I'm definitely going to be using the vise and using the twist like that. But as you've seen, you just fold your metal over on itself, bend it down, and then bend out your first finial or holder for the matchstick. And then bend everything up. So one of the other things that I do is whenever I'm making matchstick holders is I'll generally leave the back cap opened up a little bit more and this front piece opened up a little bit more so I can tweak it once I've forged it. After I've cooled everything down and I'm going in for the test, it's easier to just barely tap something than it is to try to reopen and reset once you've got everything made, having to heat the whole thing up. So remember that when you're making it, guys, it's a lot easier to leave something opened up just a hair more, and you can tap it with your hammer. Especially with this mild steel, it's a lot easier to fool around with whenever you're having to tweak it. I make 2 different size heads of these, or holders for these, I guess you would call it. A shorter one and a longer one. It's really personal preference of the person. Some people like them short like this. Some people like them longer. The benefit of the longer one, and you always have to be careful with matches because they break easy anyways, is you can strike it from a distance. You know, you can hold all the way back on the handle. On the shorter ones, put that one back in there. You have to support the head a little bit. But see how it still broke? That's just because it was a bad match. But you still have to support the head of it. All right, guys? A little bit more than what you will with the other. But a lot of people do like the shorter ones like this. And whenever I set up to do demos, I always try to have a candle inside a mason jar there. And I show the people how I strike it. I show them how to light a candle inside something. You know, the customer that you're like I said, the customer that you're really going to and pushing towards, you know, I always tell them, you know, these are great for outdoor grills, Coleman style stoves, you know, the outdoor, you know, Coleman stove styles or the ovens. If you're having to light a lantern, the mason jar style candles, I mean, they just have a limitless use for being able to light campfires and everything, especially if somebody's new or nervous about lighting something because of having to put their hand in it. This gives them a little bit more distance, and a lot of people like that. And these tools I sell all the time. This is one of my #1 selling items is matchstick holders, because people really enjoy this. It's a great holiday gift item, birthdays, anything. Mother's Day, Father's Day, everybody alike likes this tool. But guys, that's the video. I hope y'all enjoyed it. I'll see you on the next one. God bless. Keep hammering.